All right, guys. So it's 2:01, and again, thank you so much for joining me on this second Hosting 101 webinar. First of all, I would love to find out who is on the chat. Let me just go to my little thing and hold on, guys. I'm getting a question from here. I'm trying to find out who's on the actual chat. So if attendees, oh, look at that. I see Gina and Paul and Greg and Graham, Justin. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate that you guys have taken the time to spend a little bit of time with me here. So like the previous webinar, my first disclaimer is this is not an Airbnb sponsored event. Airbnb knows about me and that I'm doing webinars, but these are all my opinions. They really are not involved in this part of my life. I also know that some of your questions, because I got preliminary questions from before, are about the tax season. And I'm doing a tax-only webinar on Saturday, February 21st at 2 p.m. with Derek Davis. He is a CPA who specializes in the sharing economy. Again, tax-only webinar on Saturday, February 21st. Nonetheless, you should still consult your own accountant. This is our information and everything else, but everybody's situation is different. All right, so I'm not going to answer questions right now about the tax season because we're going to be doing that in the near future. So like before, I like to talk a little bit about a concept or a little topic, and I'm going to share the screen on something here that for you guys that I prepared. So one of the most important things for us are reviews. It is actually one of the biggest it's our biggest currency. A positive review is worth more than our own weight in gold. When guests look for properties, the first thing they look are pictures and then the reviews. And believe me, you could ask your guests how they found you. They will hopefully go and read your descriptions and rules, but sometimes they don't. And believe me, I was one of them. So the things that we get review on is, the first one is accuracy. And accuracy is basically how accurate is your place to your description and your photos. If you're showing a kitchen, please make sure that your guests can use it. Don't show something that they cannot use. We've covered this before, and it goes without saying that you need to make sure that your pictures and your descriptions are true, because you will get reviewed on that. And yes, you can have a different duvet color or color of towels, okay? So now the next one is communication. And I mean, I know that you answer your guest inquiries quickly because you want that booking. But do you anticipate their questions beforehand? Once the booking is done, do you have a template? And I have one that I'm going to be sharing with you guys later on, where all the questions that they're going to have, because you get them normally, you will answer them. For example, how far is the train station? Is it safe? I usually get the how far am I from Manhattan? Do I have restaurants? Do I have certain things? So I have a template that once the guest books, I have all those questions, including like car service and things like that. And also a little tip to tell you guys is, when you receive an inquiry, a reservation inquiry, or a guest is contacting you for the first time, it is best to answer them within 30 minutes. Yes, I know Airbnb gives you 24 hours, but within 30 minutes, the person is still looking on their site for more listings. And with that, you're stopping their process because you're cutting them in and you're answering, hey, my place is available, or whatever questions they might have. And they might just go with you because you answer them first. So just keep that in mind as a way of like keeping your bookings up. I do know that sometimes you just cannot do it because it's the middle of the night, and I have chosen to actually disable my middle of the night dings and bings because it just disturbs me. But answer them as quickly as possible. All right, so that's communication, and you will be reviewed on that as well. Another one is cleanliness. It goes without saying, please have your space super, super clean. And even after you or your cleaning person cleans it, give it one more look around. Sometimes things get shifted and moved. Hairs fall out. And believe me, my hair is always laying somewhere that it's not supposed to. So I just do a little wiping down of the bathroom with a disinfecting wipe, just to make sure that I don't leave, black hairs right there in the middle of the floor. So, and also don't forget to clean the floor around and behind the toilet, especially if you have male guests. You know how it goes. All right. So the next one is location. This is something that you probably do not have a choice in the matter if you live in an inconvenience place where you might have to take a bus and a train, or where you might not have accessibility to restaurants and you're not in the middle of the action. But the location will impact your price. Excuse me. For example, if you're far from the bus station or your train station, you cannot get prime prices, and therefore you will be reviewing location. But if you let your guests know beforehand, like, hey, it's a little bit far, but everything else, I mean, they should be okay with reference of location, unless you're going to move and just move because of Airbnb. So the next thing is checking in. We get reviewed on check-in process because part of the communication is for you to let your guests know how to find your place, how they get the keys. Is it easy? Are you making it more difficult for them? And I'm actually going to be writing a more detailed blog post about all of this, but I just wanted to give you guys something to think about, because this is what we get reviewed on. This is what those 5 stars and that super host, it goes all about. And then the next one is value. And value is a concept that I feel is conceptual and is personal. Excuse me. And I know this is the listing might be your home, and there's an emotional attachment. And believe me, I think I should get at least $400 a night for my private apartment. But if I was to be charging that, the expectation from my guests will be a lot bigger than what I'm charging right now. They will probably expect a washer or dryer, some views, amenities that I don't provide. So value is what I'm paying worth it? And really it's just very, very basic. And it's something that you guys, the guests, will review and reviews you on. My last thing is, like Barbie, please don't be hostage of a review. If a guest threatens you or tries to extort you with a bad review, please contact Airbnb. They actually do have an extortion department. This is not something that should be happening. I understand, especially at the beginning, we get very hesitant of giving a bad review or doing something because we want those positive reviews. This is our currency. But, just be careful between wanting a good review and feeling on a hostage situation. Don't you just love Barbie being tied up? Believe me, it took me a while to get for this photo. So those are the questions right now. But now I'm going to go into, that was my little presentation. And right now we're just going to go to some Q&A. So guys, I have some preliminary Q&As, but I also would love for you guys to ask me some questions on the side. And hopefully, Chuck, you could see them and, look at what people were saying. So from Samantha and Scott from Brooklyn, she asked me, how do you deal with guests who break house rules? And by the way, I love the stone wall in your photos. And it really depends on the rule. If it's a recycling rule, I have a rule about please recycle, because I get tired of looking through trash. It's like my one big pet peeve. I look through trash and it's like I'm always looking through it for recycling. If they try, I just let it go. If they just mess things up, I try to give them a fine, but I really, really don't. If it's a rule, something bigger like smoking in the house or bringing home a stranger, I actually get Airbnb involved. I had the situation like that where a young lady brought home a stranger, and I was sharing the space with her, and I was very upset about it. I felt unsafe. It's not a cool thing. And also, I had told her from beforehand when I met her to please not bring home a stranger. So get Airbnb involved if it's a big rule, such as smoking, where you have to get more cleaning done or things like that, so that the deposit will be dinged. Another question that I got, and this is from, and I'm going to kill the name, it's Ansley and Sean from Alberta, Canada, is how do we prepare to rent out our entire condo? So how much of our personal items should we move out? Excuse me, I'm gonna drink a little water. And I was driving this holiday season, and we rented a couple of Airbnbs, and I wrote something about it. And one of the apartments was in Washington. The apartment was great, but I was really surprised by how much the host decided to leave behind. We were there for just one night, but there was journals, there was money, there was jewelry, there was things that I was sort of like really surprised. If you're renting your entire house to your guest, my recommendation, any personable items, your taxes, anything like that needs to be locked away. It needs to be either be taken out of the property, or it needs to be put somewhere else where guests have no access. Remember, the guests are renting your home. They have access to the entire house. Okay, I had a guest who told me that they stayed at a place where they had a little sticky of saying, "Do not open this drawer." Of course they opened the drawer. Curiosity kills the cat. Now, do you need to take out all your clothes? No, you don't. I mean, but just leave them some space. Leave them a drawer and things like that. But do take anything private that, let's say, for example, that you might not want your grandmother to know. All right? So another question, and this is from Holly, is do you feel it is important to review every Airbnb every Airbnb guest who stays with you? And yes, this is big. You need to review all your guests, whether it's a good or a bad experience. And especially the not great guests. I mean, how are we to know as a community when someone stayed in a place and they did not respect the property, did not follow the rules, did not communicate well? I actually know of a host, excuse me, whom the guest, and I'm sorry, but they decided to use their driveway of the house and urinate in the driveway instead of stepping inside the apartment, inside the house. The neighbors saw this, called the host, which was horrible. But the host decided to now leave this kind of review to this guest. And this guest had positive review from before. But will you want a guest who will think that it's okay to urinate on a driveway in a neighborhood? We're not talking about in the country, okay? This is like their houses next to you. Not cool. Please, it is our responsibility as hosts to review the guests and keep the community informed. This is why Airbnb is so different from the other platforms, okay? Now, Custom Metal Products, who did not want to give me his name, he asked me, and this is more of a legal question. He's asked me, in New York, they own a two-family home? Would they be cracking down on the multiple dwellings? The New York state law states that you are okay if you have a two-family or one-family home. We are within the law. Please, I wrote a post about this. This is my last post that I wrote this on my site. Please review it. Please check your legalities. It is really huge issue that is going to be coming up this year, especially. All the governments and all the cities are just cracking down on it. And a lot of people, we had the council meeting here in New York, and it was not pretty. David, also from Canada, he said, I have some Airbnb verified pictures from an Airbnb photographer. He did an upgrade, and he has some non-Airbnb photographer pictures. He wants to make sure, his question was, should I still keep the Airbnb photos which provide a verification? Yes. Keep at least one or two. And beyond just giving you a verification, it also brings you up in the algorithm searches. Just a little tip. If you have a photo from Airbnb that has a verify button, a verified, mark there, the algorithm will bring you up closer in the searches, which is another reason why you should go and get your photos from Airbnb photographer. Even if you feel that the photographs might not present your space as accurate as it could be, because it's going to look amazing, but it is amazing. And you could also just put some of your own private photos. So please do go and get that free photography from Airbnb. To note that you do not own those photos. You cannot use them in any other marketing. You cannot use them in postcards or your business cards or your own website. And we will talk about you creating your own website later on. Constancia from Rio de Janeiro asked me, it is the high season in Rio and I still don't have guests for the carnival. It is time to lower the price, or is it too late? And I'm going to say, yes, lower your price. We had the same problem in New York for Super Bowl. And I believe Beyond Pricing just wrote, they're a company that does pricing for Airbnb, where they track your pricing and what's the best pricing. I have not used them yet. But they wrote a blog post about how what happens is host decided that because there's a big event happening in their city, they hiked up their prices 3, 4, 5 times. And now they cannot they didn't get it. It's going to be, the hotels are booked, but you have way too much competition. If you did not get, if you're not booked and the place it's on and the event is about to happen, I'm going to say lower your price. But then the question is, do you really want rowdy, drunk people in your home? Remember, it's Carnival. That's who's going to be going to visit you. Another question is, should I accept cash? And I do accept cash, but only from return guests. I do not accept cash from first-time guests. I like them to go through the site. If I have any issues, any problems, I want to make sure that I'm protected by the Airbnb guarantee, and I'm, sort of cocooned into their bubble of guarantees and protection, or the illusion of it. But I do accept cash from other guests that come back again and again. It is a reason for you to continue keeping their information, because Airbnb will delete any contact information from those guests 48 hours after they depart. So take their phone numbers, get their personal email address, ask for it, get a little guest book for them to sign. So, make sure that you do keep your previous guest information. I do get a lot of returning guests after 4 years of doing this. Excuse me. I need a little water again. Another question was what to do when guests break something. And it really depends on the value. If it is a glass or dish and it doesn't have any emotional attachment to it, it's okay. Look, it's business. Things happen. I have had people replace me a glass or wine glass because they broke it, but it's like, it's really just a couple of bucks. It's not really worth that much. Now, I had a guest who broke a door. And just replacing the door and everything else, it cost like almost $200. And he was thankfully very honest about it, mentioned that he broke the door, that it was a mistake, that something happened. And I was able to contact Airbnb. I went against his security deposit and there was no problems. So if there's something that is big, like a door, your TV, and before I used to have security deposits, I had a group who, they didn't break it, but they damaged a new barbecue grill, and I was a little pissed about it. That's when I created the security deposits. So let me see what other questions we have. And just give me a second. Yes, it's Roberto asked, can one contact Airbnb directly? And the answer is yes, you can. Sometimes it's a little bit harder. They don't make it easy. Like any other company at the moment, they're just making it really hard for you to be able to communicate with them. If you are a super host, and I imagine that all of you guys are trying to go into that world, it is a little bit easier. And I believe they pick up the phone a little bit faster. But yes, Peter and Susan, extortion. How do you deal with this? Contact Airbnb. They actually, and I'm writing a whole, my next blog post, it's about the reviews from the guests. And I'm going to be putting in the links for the extortion on Airbnb and everything else. It has never happened to me, thank God. But I have heard horror stories where guests are like, oh, if you don't give me a discount, I'm going to give you a bad review or anything else. And you just, If a guest tells you that on the phone or in person, my first answer is write an email on the platform. So like that is documented and in writing. So when you contact Airbnb, they have the platform emails to go through, okay? And then just contact Airbnb and please let them know, all right? Breakfast or else, a bad review. And the answer to the breakfast question is, it really depends on what you're offering. It becomes into accuracy. Do you offer breakfast on your description? My recommendation is always to at least have coffee and tea for the people. I mean, and if you're renting an entire apartment, $10 goes a long way. I provide milk, eggs, and bread. I also have other items that they're left from other guests. Like I keep them cereal, I give them tea, but those are three things. The three things that I replenish for every guest is eggs, bread, and milk. I used to do more. I used to do juice. I used to do fruit, but it just was not cost effective. But with those three things, everybody mentions them on the review. It's such a huge impact. Everybody loves the idea like, oh, I don't have to run to the market and stock my refrigerator, especially if you're arriving at midnight. Believe me, it's a great thing to have. And I also give them spices to cook with and olive oil and vinegar. So those are details, things that you don't have to replenish all the time, but it goes a long way. And no, I don't, if they open up the olive oil, I don't go and fill it up for them to get a new one. It's not, you don't have to. Kathy asked, if I have pets, should I have that posted? Yes. If you have any situation, in last webinar, we had somebody who is a naked host. He called himself a naturalist. Let's call it that. And any situation that you have that it's not expected, you need to tell your guest. You should have a photo of your pet. You should tell, not just on the description, because sometimes the guests don't read. Yeah, we don't, including me. But you should just on the communication, tell them, hey, I have a cat, I have a dog, I have chickens, I have a goat. I just want to make sure that you guys read it and you're okay with it. All right. And have a photo, invite them in, or have a photo with you and the pet on your profile, and you could even like have it in your communication where your description goes, where it says, Fido and myself will be welcoming you home. Okay. So Kathy, yes, don't hide it. And people do go to houses that have pets. So Gina is, how can I up my guest booking? All right. Let me have some more water for that one. I've been wanting to do one webinar, which is going to be just about marketing and about the slow season, which is going to be a little bit hard. And I'm sorry about the noise. I'm in the middle of construction and I have guests, but there's huge construction going on here in my house. I will be posting photos soon. Guests, how do you up your guest booking? I hope you have a Facebook account or social media account. And if you don't, if you have friends, send them, do they know what you're doing? Lower your prices in the winter. Look, it's slow for all of us. I have a very slow, I actually closed down one of my listings because of the construction. And the other one just gets filled up very small. And I spoke about this on my previous webinar, so please go in and look at it. My philosophy during the slow season is that if I make as much money as I would with the long-term guest, with the long-term tenant, I'm okay. For example, the private listing that I have upstairs on a normal long-term tenant will pay me about $2,000 a month, or probably a little bit more, $2,500. If during the month of January, if each month I receive that amount of money from guests, then I'm doing okay. I do not expect January, February, March to be my big months. You make that money during the high season, not during the winter. So tell everyone that you are hosting. Tell everybody that, yes, Justin, I love my water, man. I'm talking, so I'm thirsty. But yeah, do you have a website? Do you have postcards? Do you have business cards? Do you hand them out? Do you hand out your postcards does your neighbors know that you're hosting? Do they know it? Because my neighbors know, and they actually send me people over. Contact your previous guests that stay with you. I know you're keeping those emails, so send them an email and tell them, hey guys, thank you for being here. It was such an honor to have you. Please come back. Here's a 10% discount, or here's a 1 free night, or whatever it is that you can afford to give. But there's a good way. I get a lot of return guests, especially about that. Robert says, do you use PayPal? Do you mean, do I use PayPal for Airbnb paying me? And no, I do not. I love that Airbnb email saying, we just deposit money in your bank account. Isn't that the best? With PayPal, you have to then reroute the money out, and I just find that a pain. So, and we had this discussion, another host and myself, because he was saying that Airbnb charges you a fee to deposit into your bank account. They do not. They deposit into your bank account. You get it about 24 hours to 48 hours after guests check in, except on the weekends. Yes, but it's going straight into your bank account, and you're like, yay, there's money there. Do we have any more questions, guys? I'm sorry. Yes, I like water. This is, and believe me, it looks really nice over here, but if you see this like layers of dust from construction. Oh, can I request new pictures from Airbnb? And that's coming from Herman in Brooklyn. You can only request new pictures after 3 years. Now, yep. I'm sorry, 3 years. You have to be hosting for 3 years for them to give you new pictures. My recommendation is spend the money, hire a photographer. What you do is either you use LinkedIn or Google and go Airbnb photographer, and they usually have it on their profile. Get somebody that you like. It could cost you from $100 to $300, but it really increases your bookings. Believe me, it is really worth it. Keep one of the Airbnb photos there, just so that your search algorithm will you just continue being up there. But yeah, it takes about 3 years. They have I've been hosting with Airbnb for about 5 years, and I had requested them about a year ago, and they were like, no, not yet. And then they were like, oh yeah, we'll do it. But then I was like, I want to own the photos. So Peter says business cards work well. Do you agree? Yes. And I'm actually going to put a link. I have a link for a discount for Moo cards. At one point, Airbnb used to give us free business cards, at least the first set. They don't do that anymore. But I think I have an affiliated link that gives us 10% discount. And I will show you my business cards. It's basically a little bit of information of me in front and a pretty photo of my listing in the back. I also use that on my postcards. I actually created a website for my listing because it's a little bit easier to say, go to Eveland B&B instead of go to Airbnb/rooms/blah, blah, blah, because people will not get that. From the website, I direct them towards the Airbnb, and I only book through Airbnb. I have issues, and I don't like people first time guests coming through me directly. Only people that I have been in my home before. So guys, it's 2:29. I will probably have for one more question because Chuck is very quickly writing. No pressure. And please let me know. Do you guys like this what I'm doing? I'm gonna try to do this every month and do different things. Ooh, Mona asked me, how can I disinfect a room? I'm actually going to do something about cleaning. I'm going to write a whole thing about cleaning because you can't put yourself apart. And there is a host in Brooklyn who cleans organically, and she has it on her description that she's an organic, that everything is, she doesn't even have Wi-Fi because of the radiation, but she has created a niche market for her. But yes, I mean, how can you disinfect your home? From Clorox to, you could create your own detergents with vinegar and lemon and baking soda. And I'm going to write something really detailed about that. I'm just doing some more research. But I just wanted to remind you guys, the next webinar is going to be February 21st. It's going to be, again, another Saturday. I hope it works with you guys. And it's going to be about taxes. That's what it's going to be about. It's not going to be about anything else but, you know, taxes. I'm going to probably request your questions about taxes beforehand, just because, you know, but I don't think I'm going to be doing a Q&A, because that, you know, it's not about our personal situation. We just want to have something overall. I do know within the groups, Danny has a group about legal taxes, legalization, and I mean, actually, he has a group about taxation, and you could probably ask him there and stuff like that. Oh, and we have one more question from Beatriz from Hungary. How to improve reviews? How do I know what I need to do? Beatrice, do me a favor. Send me your actual Airbnb link, and I'm going to give you a personal thing. Look, like I told you before, I'm actually going to be writing a detail about post about what I spoke about before, about what we are reviewed on. But it's accuracy, communication, your cleanliness, your location, your check-in. Think about, if you were a guest and you were coming into a stranger's home, what would you want to be that experience? How would you want that to be for you? And if you have never been a guest, if you have never Airbnb, I highly recommend it. I've stayed about 3-4 places in a couple of business trips. Every time I stay in a place, I'm learning something new. It is amazing, the learning curve. I mean, how do you feel in someone's home? We stayed in San Francisco in this amazing house. There was like 6 super hosts. We were paying $600 a night. It was not a cheap Airbnb or anything like that. And you know what we remember about? They didn't have good coffee or good tea. That's what we remember about, especially for a $600 price. Again, that's about value. I mean, we gave her good reviews. She was a great host. The house was amazing. But, you know, think about those little details that give you the extra hump, that extra difference between okay and fantastic. And also, if you have reviews, your reviews will tell you what's important to the guest. What is it that they mention? Do they mention your amazing guidebook? Do they mention how great of a host you are, how hospitable, how, you know, how much information you've given them? Or do they mention, oh shit, they disappear, excuse the language, but you know, they disappear. Oh, she likes the Q&A. Thank you so much, Anna Marie. And yes, I'm going to try to do this once a month. I am going to try to give them, you know, different topics and stuff like that. So again, thank you guys very much. And I just want to say, please be safe, you know, and happy hosting. And I will see you guys in, you know, next time. All right. Thank you guys.